Anas Alhajji, welcome back to F.A.C.E. You're exactly the person I wanted to talk to today with what's happening in the world. I'm trying to promote you. There you are. Welcome back to F.A.C.E., partner. There you go. Your mic should be hot. You have a hot mic?
Not yet, it's muted. Let me
Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, there you go. He's
I have
unmuted.
him.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Anas. Thanks for your patience and hanging out. You're exactly the guy I wanted to talk to today. Are you going to be sharing your screen?
Well, I already sent you the link if you want to share it from your side. Otherwise, I can share it from my side.
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm not, the share screen's at the bottom. And, what a great time with everything that's happening in the Middle East to talk to a Saudi, which you are, and someone with great knowledge in the market. So before we get to the markets, why don't we address this? I believe there's a paradigm shift when Xi goes to Saudi Arabia and brokers some type of deal with Iran, which been historical enemies forever. The Saudis bought arms for us with the rationale to defend themselves from Iran, and now it's going to be a different story. Has the U.S. lost its petrodollar advantage? And I noticed today that China's going to come in and they're buying a lot of distillery space in Saudi Arabia. What do you think about what China has instigated?
Sure. Do you see my screen now?
Yeah.
This is the screen for our Substack. And I'm scrolling down here, and there is this one that says Saudi-Iran rapprochement, Iraq crude flows, and Europe's gas supplies.
Okay. All right, so you covered it. Yeah, I see it.
Yes, we covered this in details on March 13th. And on the day of the news, basically, we had this long interview with a top expert on this issue, who is Dr. Bernard Haeckel. So you can see it, Saudi-Iran relations interview with Professor Bernard Haeckel. So you can see that on our Substack. But if you go to that Saudi-Iran rapprochement and you click on that, and here is the long analysis.
And this is all on your. This is all on your.
On the
blog?
Substack, yes. Yes.
Okay, Substack is like a blog, right?
Correct. And I did send you the link if you'd like to repost it later on.
Okay.
But the idea here is as simple as this. It seems that the media exaggerated those moves in various ways. From our point of view, it is mostly returned to pre-2016, not more than that, which means that before 2016, there was an embassy, a Saudi embassy in Tehran. There was a diplomatic relationship with Tehran. There were problems in Yemen, there were problems in Syria, etc. And what happened is in 2016, there was
Yemen,
some rebellion within Saudi Arabia in the Shia community. And the government decided to execute 50 people. And they did. And as a reaction, the Iranians went to the streets and they attacked the Saudi embassy and they burned it. And that ended the diplomatic relationship between Iran and Saudi Arabia. That was in 2016. So since 2016, there was no relationship or no diplomatic relationship between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Right now, they are going back to pre-2016. So they are establishing diplomatic relations. They are opening the embassies in both countries, etc. And it seems it's purely political, has nothing to do with anything else. We've seen some.
That's hard to believe that it has nothing to do with anything else. With the biggest commodity consumer on the globe It has to have more to do than
Not
just a
not really.
diplomatic
I'll tell you
mission.
why. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The
Tell me.
reason why, because what is the Saudi biggest problem? The Saudi biggest problem is Yemen. It's not oil prices. It's not oil sales. It's Yemen. It is really draining the budget, draining the economy, draining everything.
Okay.
So they really want to end the issues in Yemen. And the Houthis are in charge of northern Yemen in Sana'a. And who is supporting them? Who is sending arms, etc.? The Iranians.
Yeah, they're
And
proxies.
in Syria, basically, it seems this is part of the deal. They are trying to return the diplomatic relations with the Assad regime, which is causing some problems within the Arab world because, as everyone knows, he is a criminal. So it is really political and mostly related to Yemen issues. The Iranians were, because of what happened, they were not able to send their pilgrims to Mecca, to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia, which is a big issue for the Iranian public. So they really want their people to go to Hajj. That's one issue. At the same time, there are other issues related to Gulf states basically financing several media outlets that are against the regime, that are broadcasting in the local language. And
What does China get out of this?
Well, this is one of the issues that I think was exaggerated because China has no military presence in the area, so they cannot guarantee anything. In my view, because let's say if the deal fails, what China can do? Nothing. Nothing. And China is not going to sacrifice the businesses in Iran just because they are mad at the Iranians because they embarrass them.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there are any guarantees, the guarantees are regarding the protection of the embassies, so the embassy won't be burnt again.
Okay.
China already getting the oil it wants from Saudi Arabia. It's already getting the oil it wants from Iran. It's already getting the Iranian business, especially the infrastructure and everything else. Iran and Pakistan are very important for China. They really want a kind of to normalize relationship with those two countries. They don't want even Iran to be under sanctions so they can do their business. So they are normalizing in a different way.
Yeah, well, I mean, China is looking for new membership in their new club, and they do want to de-dollarize the world.
I don't think so.
You don't think they want?
No.
I think you don't think they want to de-dollarize and not give us the advantage of having a petrol currency.
Yeah. So we have.
You don't think so?
If you recall, about a year ago, we discussed this. The issue is as simple as this. Only the United States at this stage can do that role. No one else can do it. And anyone who is talking about the demise of the dollar should pay attention to the following. The countries that are trying to shy away from the dollar are the countries that have US sanctions imposed on them. You are not going to see a free country from sanctions de-dollarizing in this case. And the United States, if they really want to protect the dollar, all they got to do is just lift the sanctions and everything is fine. But the issue is this, that Iran itself, the one that considered the United States the enemy, get an exemption from the United States, from the sanctions, to sell gasoline, natural gas, and electricity to Iraq. And what they get in exchange? US dollars. That's number one. Look at Russia today. When they deal with the yuan, as you know, the yuan basically in a certain way, it is kind of, it fluctuates within a certain range relative to the dollar. And now they are asking the Indians basically to pay in UAE dirham, and UAE dirham is pegged to the dollar. And if you look at, and people should really pay attention to this, we covered it in one of the newsletters we had about 2 weeks ago. and I'm trying to find it here. That's where I'm just scrolling down here to show people what's in that Substack. But one of the biggest issues that people do not know is that the U.S. still imports, despite the sanctions, still import very important materials from Russia, and so does the EU. That includes enriched uranium for the nuclear power plants until today. And what Putin gets for that? US dollar. So if they want to get rid of the US dollar, how they are getting all those dollars?
I mean, I read and hear from a lot of experts that, you know, Putin, this new bloc is not dollar oriented. This new bloc wants to have their own trading system, and they want to have their own currency. There is an advantage to the US having this privilege of having a petrocurrency. And I think China wants to change that.
I'll tell you why
They
it
want
won't
that
work.
advantage.
Yeah.
They want that advantage.
Let me just mention a few things to push back against this idea. First of all, for the euro, until it became the euro, it took the most advanced countries in the world 40 years of coordination, 40 years of countries that have the same aim. They have democracies, they have elections, they have all kinds of things to reach the 40 years. And for people to think, and they are all adjacent to each other. They are in the same continent, and mostly they have almost the same culture. To believe that you
They
are going
fought
to
world
combine,
wars against each other.
yes, but
So,
it still it took 40 years to do that. To think that the Far East in Asia is going to combine with the far south of Latin America, with the Arabs in the Middle East, to combine this quickly in a couple of years and come up with a new currency does not make sense. That's number one. Number two, when we talk about yuan and oil, yes, there is an exchange in Shanghai where you can see oil prices in yuan. That's absolutely correct. But what you see in yuan is a mirror image of what you see in Dubai in dollars. So you are just playing the exchange rate.
Okay.
In this case.
All right, so let's get to the substance. I just thought it was a paradigm shift, and I also thought the enemy of my enemy is my friend when this deal went down. But if it was a paradigm shift, it's like the earth moves and there are reverberations. And you're saying that China just had noble diplomatic intentions by going to Saudi Arabia and trying to broker some type of negotiation between them and Iran.
I don't know about the word noble here, but
I'll accept it.
It's not.
I don't believe it, but I'll take it.
I think we are going to see some return to pre-2016, probably some improvement over it, especially when it comes to Yemen and Syria, and that's it.
And then, you know, a day or two after Iran started lobbing missiles, you know, I mean, if the U.S. didn't have bases in Syria, they wouldn't be a target.
Yes,
but
for those who are for those who are interested, we discussed that in that newsletter that I just showed you earlier. We discussed this, and basically we had two predictions there. One prediction is that we might see some attacks on oil facilities or oil tankers somewhere because someone wants to derail this deal. And all of a sudden, we've seen those Iranian attacks on U.S. bases in Syria. And I think that fits with that prediction, that someone is trying to derail this deal, because we've seen it before. Remember the 4 tankers that were attacked in Fujairah when Fujimori, who was the prime minister of Japan at that time, was visiting Tehran. And someone wanted to prevent him from meeting certain officials by literally bombing those ships, because one of them was Japanese and the other one was going to Japan. So this derailment was expected. The U.S. response to that was really quick and powerful. But we got to be careful because I think we might still see some activities to derail those efforts. Right now, things are calm because it's the month of Ramadan.
Yeah.
But we still need to wait to make sure that
All right.
this is going to go forward.
Our attendees want us to get to oil prices, and I'd say that, otherwise I'd go to talk about Netanyahu, who needs a distraction from what's happening in Israel, and we know how he feels about Iran. So why don't we get to the structure of oil? Recently traded down to about 65-ish. People are starting to say too much downside here, that oil is the buy of the century. Do you believe it is the buy of the century or the buy of the week?
I think both of them are extremes.
Okay.
The opportunity in the medium and the long term is really large. The issue for us right now is really what's going to happen in the next quarter, whether we are going to have a recession or not. The next quarter is going to be weak no matter what. Anyway, we look at it. We have our own, for those who are interested, they can go to our Substack, or they can search literally this expression, which is 2023 oil market outlook in Google, and they can find it. And in that outlook, the main idea that the demand in the first half is going to be weak. The reopening of China is not going to be that bullish for various reasons, mostly because most of the bullishness is coming only from the transportation sector. And if you look at all the other issues related to demand, everything you see is weak. The dollar is still very strong, and it's wreaking havoc on oil demand in most of the world. And all those forecasts that claim, 125 and 120, etc., has no basis. Not before and not now. We are going to see improvement in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. Even if we end up with a recession in the second quarter, I am still bullish on the fourth quarter of this year. The OPEC already, or OPEC Plus, already sent so many messages in the last 2 months that the cut they agreed on in October is going to stay, which means that they are not going to increase production and they are not going to cut. And they think this the recent decrease is mostly financial, is not related to decline in oil demand. My view is, if they see an actual decline in oil demand, they will cut.
Do you have a new range? Do you have a new range now? Now that we've tested and taken out, I think you had like a $70 range prior. Has it shifted now that we've traded underneath the floor?
No, not really. I mean, because when you talk about range, you still talk about minus plus a few dollars this way or this way. I think without a recession, we are range bound. A recession will force prices down.
Where, 40, 42?
No. I think that should be too low. Okay. OPEC Plus is going to react the moment they see a decline in demand. And let me explain this to the audience, because it is very important, and why the Saudis are frustrated with the media. The first person to know whether demand is decreasing or not are the sellers. They are the one who are getting the orders 2-3 months ahead of time.
Right. True.
Before anyone knows about it. So they are frustrated because you have all those propaganda pushers or agenda pushers on one side who wants oil to go up or down, etc. While the Saudis are frustrated because they see the market before anyone else. And they saw this early in like September of last year. That's why they cut production, and the Biden administration got mad because they said they did it before the election. Well, look, they are not going to lose billions of dollars just for the election in the United States.
It didn't support prices anyway.
Well, it depends, because prices probably would have been way lower.
Okay. It didn't stop the oil decline. So
Correct.
you're right. I
Correct.
guess, yeah, I guess then we could have been at, instead of 64, we could have been at 50.
Yeah, basically we
That was
have, for those who are interested, if they go through that Substack, we have a whole newsletter basically discussing what should have OPEC, what should OPEC do, that
I
before the
tell you what,
meeting.
I'd like to read A World of Never-Ending Energy Crises. That's a very good title.
Yes, this is an article that was published in Petroleum Economist, and it is posted there on the Substack. And basically the whole argument in the whole article that we are going to move from energy crisis to another because of the various contradictory policies of Europe and the United States.
Any view on the grinding war in Ukraine and its effect on oil?
As right now, what we saw so far is, and we have a full article that's a very long, like several page article on the first anniversary of the Ukraine war with all kind of charts and data for those who are interested to see what the change and what happened. What we saw basically is this massive redirection of energy trade worldwide that we have not seen since 1973. And it's way larger than what happened in 1973, 1974. So we have a major shift. And the issue here is most of the shift is permanent. It's not like the war stops and everything goes back the same way it was.
Yeah.
We are building infrastructure that makes this change permanent.
Yeah,
And
just
this is
like,
really,
yeah, just like what happened with supply chains on other things like semiconductors.
absolutely. And the problem with that is we are ending up with inefficient market because the natural market for Ural's crude, for example, is Europe. And now you have to use oil tankers that will go triple the distance to deliver that oil.
Yeah. All the things we took for granted, right? That we thought were, you know, and we were just ungrateful for, have been dismantled.
Absolutely. But we got to remember the following, that despite all the rhetoric and everything we heard about the sanctions and how bad Putin is, the EU and the US still trade with Putin. And the EU has played so many games to keep oil and natural gas supplies coming to Europe. So let's remember the following. Natural gas still coming to Europe. 20% of the LNG that comes to Europe today, 20% of the LNG that comes to Europe today comes from Russia. And in the agreement of the sanctions of the EU, they allow products coming from Russian oil to come to the EU as long as those products are refined in a third country. So they are getting the Russian oil, but refined in India and China, and they are, for some reason, willing to pay the high price.
Who do you or your sources think blew up that pipeline, the Nord Stream?
I have no idea, but the argument...
Oh, you are such a diplomat.
No, not really. The argument I made long ago that if you really analyze this, the Biden administration has no interest, period, because all the efforts of the Biden administration was to secure energy supplies to Europe.
Right.
To the extent that they themselves basically decided to, despite the sanctions on Venezuela, they allowed Venezuela to export oil to Europe. Despite the sanctions on Iran, they allowed Iran to export oil to Europe. They got involved with a lot of diplomatic efforts to convince Qatar and Japan to divert LNG shipments to Europe.
Okay.
So
why would he blow up? Yeah, why would he do that? There's just conspiracy theories out there.
Unless they are just like with the issues of the Iranians and what happened in Syria recently, that there are certain factions not the administration itself. There are certain factions who have interest in this. But there is, if you look at the policy, there is no interest in this. And they got lucky this year. And they got lucky on two fronts.
Yeah,
First,
weather.
we did not have hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico that limited the LNG exports to Europe. And like you said, the other one is the weather. If next winter is going to be, the summer, that's when they need the LNG to build up the storage. If we end up with several destructive hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico, and then followed by a really severe winter in Europe, there will be a lot of problems in Europe, and nothing.
It never
can
happens
fix it.
when everyone's thinking it's going to happen. Next year could be the problem. Weather patterns are changing too. A big one for the world is El Nino, La Nina out in the Pacific. And
Correct. And we do provide analysis on natural gas supplies and LNG in Europe every single week. And the view right now is watch next winter, because if the summer in the Gulf of Mexico is severe and the winter in Europe is severe, Europe problems are going to be really the world problems by that time, because prices of LNG are going to go through the roof again. And that's why China is preparing for it, by the way. China right now, they are reneging on coal commitment for fear that LNG prices will go through the roof.
Okay. Well, they're pretty good commodity traders. I know that. So, you know what else you do? Every time you come here, you straighten me out from all the, some misinformation and stuff that I consume on FinTwit. And I still have, some original thoughts too, but
this is a badge of honor, Dale.
What
you just said is a badge of honor to me.
Okay. You do that for everybody, because a lot of people, everyone who follows you, and that's why they follow you, is because you bring reason to an environment where information is, you just hear everything, and you speak with authority, and you do that for the whole, anyone who hears or reads your words. So go to his Substack, everybody. Go to Anas's Substack. You can follow him on Twitter at Anas Alhajji. And I always appreciate you being here. Hope you have a great Ramadan. Inshallah, my trading warrior.
Inshallah. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Anas Alhajji, and he's one of my go-to oil people, and he covers everything. So you could join the team in 14 minutes on the Morning Edge. Don't just count your barrels or wells, count your blessings, and we'll see you for Turnaround Tuesday.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.